So the testing grounds have been going on for a couple of days now, and I've played more games than I should have. I just want to say, if you haven't had a chance to play testing grounds just yet, you should get on that, as the activity has been low for both Duel and Dominion a few times in the day, and I'm having to wait a little bit before getting into games. I had to wait almost 15 minutes to find a game earlier, but I mean, not everyone wants to play against the same 3 heroes all day, so it's understandable. Anyways, in this video, I just want to take a little bit of time and talk about the 3 heroes who received changes in the testing grounds, and just sort of give my thoughts on them. As always though, if you check out the channel and just want to support me a little bit, I'd really appreciate it if you sub to the channel, as it really helps me out. Now let's not waste any more time and get right into it. So I'm going to start off with Warlord today, because I've been starting with Centurion for the past couple of videos, and Warlord needs all the love he can get nowadays. So I can't even lie to you guys, I did enjoy using Warlord in the testing grounds. I thought I wouldn't with all these Centurions and Gladiators running around, but I did. I know much didn't change, but the things like enhanced light attacks, increased light attack range, and full block stab working every time I did it made things more enjoyable. He still feels like Warlord. His playstyle is exactly the same, but a little better. Is he God tier Warlord again? Absolutely not. But I do think Warlord mains will be happy with these changes, because I mean, he isn't getting worse. As I said, I was actually having fun with Warlord for some reason. I would have loved to see more though. Maybe it's because I've avoided Warlord for a long time and just got done using a reflex guard hero with no armor, but I enjoyed hitting people who tried to poke me out of my armored chain heavies. Although, I sort of wonder why Yubi didn't just make the armor start a little faster. There are 2 other chain heavy finishers that come to mind that have earlier starting hyper armor. The first being Raider's chain heavy finisher gets hyper armor after 100 milliseconds. His second heavy starts at 300, but I'm talking about finishers here. And Kinsei's armor on his heavy finishers start at 200 milliseconds. These attacks trade really well, and I mean, we're all used to it by now, so I don't see why not speed up the armor on Warlord's finisher if the point of it is to trade with people who are trying to poke you out of your chains. I know that sounds nitpicky, because I mean, it is, but it looks like Warlord isn't going to be getting any sort of real chain pressure, so I don't see why not. Make it more useful, as Warlord doesn't emit much pressure after he throws out his opener. Sure, he can delay his chain light pretty well, but that's not like real pressure. I know there are some people who feel that heavies shouldn't be very versatile and shouldn't have a ton of chain options or pressure because they're supposed to be tanky and deal high damage and whatnot. But I mean, the other heavies in the game do have some sort of chain pressure. It may not be all the best, but it's there and it works sometimes. Blackprior has chain pressure. After a light, he can bash, throw out an undodgeable heavy, or throw out an unblockable. Recently released Yorm also has enhanced lights like this Warlord, and has an undodgeable chain light, a stamina draining bash, or an unblockable finisher that can lead to a wall splat if their opponent is close enough to a wall, or knock them down if they're out of stamina. You already know what Hitokiri can do after an opener. JJ can access an unblockable. Shigoki can headbutt or throw out an unblockable that can be soft feinted into a hug, and so on. You get my point. Other heavies do have more options than just an armored heavy. Are they the best options, and do they always work? No, but they do have their uses and can't be defeated by just blocking. I know it'd be boring, but maybe Yubi could try a Warden-esque or Kinsei-esque unblockable top heavy and see what happens. It is just a test after all. I do actually like Warlord's full guard. Again, it's nowhere near perfect, but it starts up really fast and you can get out of it pretty quickly by throwing an attack or letting it go and dodging immediately. I also like that the follow-up never misses now. It's pretty fun using that in the middle of a 1v1 and mixing it in with your lights, heavies, and headbutts. I do sort of wish that the full guard follow-up acted as an opener or acted as the first hit in a chain, so that you could throw a delayed light from it or switch to someone so that you can hit them while they're trying to interrupt you, because every time I do it, it just feels like I can follow it up, if that makes any sense. Again, it's something minor, but I'd really like to see it. It's more of a quality of life thing than anything. And also, if we're talking quality of life changes, just speed up that top light to 500 milliseconds. Alright, now on to Gladiator. Not much changing here. He still feels the same for the most part, while both fighting with and against him. I will say off the bat, the guard buff, or normalizing the reflex guard, is such a nice change. I mean, this should have been done a really long time ago, but hey, it's here and I like it. It makes playing in 4s a lot more tolerable since your guard isn't dropping and letting attacks through as often. It just makes Gladiator a bit more durable, and there should be no one that's upset with this improvement. The sped up light attacks feel nice to use, they're noticeably faster, but they're not too crazy to go up against. The top light does catch me off guard though, and I've landed my fair share of top lights with them now, but they're not overbearing or anything like that. It's not like Gladiator is landing 4 lights in a row whenever he wants. Keep in mind though, I am playing on PC and haven't played Testing Grounds on console just yet. They feel more natural on Gladiator. The 600 millisecond lights were pointless, so pointless in fact that I had 3 very high rep players tell me that they didn't even know Gladiator had a 4 light chain. Toe stab being sped up while the opponent is out of stamina is also a nice change. It actually lands now. I've seen a lot of people say that the follow-up heavy isn't confirmed after knockdown, but you can still land the heavy as long as you don't switch guards. And I like being able to continue the pressure, as after they get back up, they can still be out of stamina, allowing you to go in for another toe stab or try to get damage in another way. The forward added movement to skewer is nice as well, but this change is one I didn't notice as much, as Gladiator is a hero I stopped playing after like 8 reps because of their short guard. If there was one more thing I'd love to see after these testing grounds are over, at least when regarding the moves that they've adjusted here, I'd love to see skewer not put me out of stamina almost any time it's parried. This could be just another attack that falls victim to the high stamina costs in For Honor, but since skewer is a pretty big part of his kit, it seems off that you will completely gas yourself if you get parried. I just stopped throwing the attack out altogether after a while, or at least I stopped letting it fly and opted to feint it instead and only take my skewer off of deflects. And while we're talking about things that'll never happen, I wouldn't mind seeing Glad get another chain, just a heavy light chain that of course continues on, just a little something to make him better. And how could I forget the biggest change in Gladiator's kit? Bamboozle, now wall splats. This is revolutionary. It's really nice and a lot of fun to use. I constantly went out of my way to try and pull it off, no matter who was in my way or what punish I was ruining. If you're far enough away, you can get a heavy in if they hit the wall, but if you're too close to them, you'll have to just take a light. I like it. It wasn't mentioned in the patch notes, which is strange. Honestly, now that I think about it, I really don't know how all these things just slipped through. We literally wouldn't even know about half the changes that aren't in the patch notes if it weren't for the players testing things out and finding things, and of course without Freeze's undocumented changes videos. Overall though, this is just a Gladiator buff. I'm not sure why these are even in the testing grounds, as I don't think any of the listed changes really needed to be tested. There's no downside here for Gladiator players, and I think that you'll all be glad about these if they make it to the live game. Unless you're one of those people who don't want your hero to have faster lights because you don't want people to think you're a light spammer. Now on the Centurion, not much has changed in the past couple of days for me. I still feel the same way for the most part. I like the changes. Centurion will be added to my rotation of heroes whenever these changes go live. I like the style. I like the fashion, I like the finishers and emotes, and as someone who didn't really like using Centurion before the changes because of his grievances, this makes me want to play him. As I said before, when the mix isn't being rolled away from all the time, it's an enjoyable combat loop. It feels good for the most part, and it works. The various quality of life things are nice. Faster lights, feintable zone, feintable punch, better damage, things like that are nice. Are the changes perfect and ready to roll? Of course not. There are still things that need to be worked out. The infinite Eagle's Talon from 2 Centurions definitely needs to go as soon as possible. I know it's been highlighted because of how many Centurions are running around in the testing grounds, but that doesn't change the fact that it needs to go. I think Centurion is fun for the most part, although I wouldn't mind a few quality of life changes to make him feel a bit more smooth. as even after a few more days of playing him, he still feels clunky. There's some things that just don't feel fluid to me, and I went back to the live game to see if it was just me, but of course they feel different. Things like going for a guard break after the fainted charge punch feels slow. Trying to throw your opponent after Lion's Roar feels a bit finicky as well. And I find myself having to mash guard break to get him to throw his opponent. Otherwise, I'll end up just staring my opponent right in the eyes while he's in my hands until the game techs us out of it. I also sort of wish Lion's Roar did damage with Haymaker, as that would just feel nice. I also get why they removed the guaranteed heavy after a parry counter, as you get the damage from Haymaker and the heavy and would still have access to your mix-up, but I honestly wouldn't mind seeing it return because it felt so natural. That, and of course allowing us to get an unblockable after any throw that wall splats. I don't really have a huge problem with his short range anymore. I just don't like when I whiff heavies while right in front of an opponent who's walking backwards sometimes. I don't really know what causes it, and I tried to recreate the scenarios, but it just seemed pretty random to me for the time being. Maybe with more time we'll figure it out though, as I mean this is only the third day of testing grounds. That paired with people back dodging or rolling can get pretty annoying, but as I said, when people aren't doing that, I think you'll have a good time with Centurion. There really isn't much for me to say that I haven't said already about Centurion in Thursday's video. I'm still having fun with him, as long as I don't play him for too long at one time anyways. I enjoy coming back to him for the time being, and I'm really hoping that Yubi can improve him a bit more once this phase of testing grounds are finished. Anyways, that's all I've got for this video. I just wanted to talk about the 3 of these heroes really fast and just give my thoughts on them. As for the testing grounds, I like them. It does feel like an event more than anything though, and I know that within a couple of days there won't be many people playing them. As I said before, I'd love for them to at least give us the option to play customs or something so that we can actually test things out in a controlled environment, as the whole point of the testing grounds is to test things out. And that can be difficult when you've got 3 Centurions pouncing on you. Anyways, I do want to hear what you guys think, so talk to me down in the comments about anything we talked about in this video. And as always, if you like the video, feel free to leave a like and sub if you're new. And I will talk to you guys in the next video.